Hey guys, said I'd just throw together a quick video there just to address some kind of topical issues that are cropping up a good bit. And I suppose we all know at this stage it's the coronavirus and the season being kind of postponed, halted up until kind of the end of March, and I suppose later, according to most sources, and a lot of events being called off in April too. So I suppose, what are we going to do from here? And it's a question a lot of the athletes that I coach personally and a lot of people have been asking. And I suppose one or two queries and questions and concerns that they have are: you had a goal, okay, and now it's gone. What do we do now? And secondly, the races were a build to something bigger. So what do I mean by that? So the Sunday races were a build up to maybe the Ross, or your kind of race days in Belgium were a build up to a UCI ranked stage race or something like that, and it was all part of a bigger picture leading up to the A goal, we'll call it. And as endurance athletes, we're very focused and driven in terms of how we actually lay out and plan our training. And when something alters that, as coaches, sometimes we get annoyed, and as athletes, we get very annoyed too. But at the moment, this is something it's quite bigger, we'll say, than just bike riding or endurance sport in general. So we have to say, look, it's the same for everybody, and carry on in terms of how we do things. I suppose going back to the concerns and addressing them, you had a goal and now it's gone. So what now? Okay, so motivation is going to take a big hit there. You're probably coming into a taper or a rest period before your A goal, and with this news, it's gone. And what are you going to do from there? So what I think on that regard is you use the taper to good effect, okay? So you maybe do a test, you lay down some new power benchmarks, you assess where you can go from there, and you use this period to adapt and get a little bit better in terms of your limiters. So you do a threshold test, you do a critical power test, or you test on power duration, such as sprint power or 5 minute power or something like that, and see where you're at. And use the block to bump that up and arrive into the second half of the season having worked on a domain and use this to your full advantage, okay? It does come with a caveat though, that because your training, I suppose, intensity went up all the way until your A goal or your A race and you're peaking, your training intensity was quite high, okay? And we know that you can't keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing that top end intensity, because it just ends in burnout, or else psychological kind of just withdrawal from the actual sport itself, okay? So what we need to do in that regard is reduce the intensity slightly, okay, and use this time to build a little bit of base again. So just reintroduce a little bit more endurance work. And when I say reduce the intensity, we're kind of looking at frequency of sessions over the week, and then possibly aiming to reduce the amount of say repetitions of certain intensity within a workout, or also increasing the recovery periods in between the intense bouts, so you're not really going to the well every time you're doing a session in hopes of this A race coming up, okay? So what it's about is retaining that top end fitness, building a little bit more base, and looking at your actual limiters themselves, using this as a positive rather than a negative that it's kind of turning out to be for a lot of people, and it's something that we don't want either. So looking at the second option then, these races were built something bigger, okay? So honestly, this isn't as much a disaster as you think. You can replicate a lot of racing in training, okay? So again, drawn back from the previous point, we got to look at shifting your focus to kind of limiter development. And what I mean by that again is, if sprint power, say, is something that you're lacking in and you feel the sessions haven't gone right up until now, then why not use this block in your extra time to actually train that facet of fitness? All right. So that might be an idea, okay? And then kind of based off racing kind of once or twice already, possibly for some people. How did that go? Was there a 10-minute climb that you got dropped in the first 1 or 2 minutes, or was your descending a bit poor, or was your bunch riding up and over that kind of surgy zone 3 power duration a bit poor as well? So reflect and then adapt to that, and once racing does roll back around again, have a look at it and you may have actually used this time to improve your big limiter there too. So that's a really, really good a good thing, which is important for a period like this, because it helps to keep motivation up. You have a specific focus, okay? And from my point of view, a lot of people are going to let something like this really kind of interrupt them and pack their season, so to speak. So for people who remain a little bit more focused and diligent in around what they're doing at the moment, and don't go absolutely nuts on Zwift racing or crazy group rides, and use it to your advantage, I think there's a lot of scope left for improvement towards the back half of the year, you know. And I think this is kind of all we can do for the time being before we get any more information, or however this thing actually proceeds itself. For the moment, we need to kind of carry on and just be mindful of our training. And this all does come with the caveat, though, that really long, intense bouts of exercise and chronic training loads do interrupt immune function, and this isn't something that we quite want at the moment. That while, you know, we don't have the antibodies or whatever to fight this virus, having a good strong immune system can never be a bad thing when a virus is, you know, maybe going to enter your body and cause some interruption. So it could help with recovery time and that type of thing too. So just be mindful that just because you're maybe working from home or you're off school or college, it is a good time to get some training in, but it's not a good time to absolutely blast yourself with training volume and load just because you're missing about a racing. Okay, so that's really, really important caveat into that there as well. Don't go crazy in terms of the volume, because immune function is at stake and you're thinking of the bigger picture too. So yeah, I think just keep the motivation levels up and do it through picking specific facets of fitness and working on them, you know, using this to your advantage and going for it then off of that.